sound so negative.
You asked me to be your girlfriend. You asked me to be your girlfriend so you can get through to the finals because you're a game player.
It's because of a certain gigantic bellend.
Mate, what are you calling a bellend?
I'm calling you a bellend.
Why are you calling me a bellend? Sit down. Stop.
Come with someone.
You could be happier to crack on with Meg. No, he's cracking on with Megan. Nice one, Meg. Cheers for telling me. Slag.
Sam, the first time I've spoken to her properly was then.
Yeah, I'm not saying.
So how can I go behind your back and do anything?
I'm saying.
I've been waiting to come and have a chat with you.
I'm saying, right, if you've done once on anything slack.
Look, let's sit down. Let's sit down. Tell me what then?
I'm telling you that.
Okay, I'm not going to lie. Love Island is one of my guilty pleasures. I'm partial to a bit of escapism, watching a bunch of good-looking men and women pretending they are searching for love.
No, she didn't.
Yes, pretending. And I'm sorry to break it to you, but if you didn't realise by now, they are all seeking fame and fortune. Can you blame them? A summer and that one series of the winter edition means these contestants become instant influencers and can earn big bucks. Well, most of them. I've enjoyed the drama they create in order to increase their screen time. No shade. I mean, yeah, I would do the same, but alas, my dignity would never let me. Partaking in some of those challenges makes me want to literally vom. But I guess it's like one of those questions. Would you let someone crap on you for £1 million? Would you? On the surface, Love Island seems harmless and pretty entertaining. I mean, a bunch of 20-something-year-olds living in a gorgeous villa, taking part in challenges to prove that they are the best couple in order to snatch that 50k. I hear you asking, what's the issue? But all is not as it seems. Love Island is problematic, and I guarantee you one day there will be a documentary made about it. But until then, I'm here. My name is Opinionated Livia, and I am back. I know it's February, but Happy New Year to all of my subscribers, and I hope you are blessed. Hello, if you are new here, hit that subscription button if you're on the same vibe as me and you like what I have to say. Let's be friends. I promise you I'll be uploading way more consistently, so please don't judge me. I've had a little break. But we are living through a global pandemic, so give a girl a break. Now, let me tell you why Love Island is a hot mess. Sit back and relax while I get into it.
Oh, don't even chase me. What are you going to do, babe?
There's no denying that Love Island is a cultural phenomenon. The UK series broke ratings records by attracting more than 6 million viewers at its all-time high, taking the world by storm and branching into different franchises. We've seen Love Island USA, Australia, Sweden, and starting soon, Love Island South Africa. But you know, the more you're in the spotlight, the more open you are to being criticised, and there's been no escaping this for Love Island. Let's take a look at some of their controversies. Love Island has been accused of glamorising smoking. In earlier seasons of Love Island, smoking was openly captured on camera. It was a place where contestants would gossip and have their most interesting conversations. But in 2017, ITV2, the network channel that broadcast Love Island, revealed that more than 50% of complaints about the show were about on-screen smoking. And this topic even made it to the House of Lords for a debate. Due to the major backlash, ITV2 introduced strict rules around smoking. This meant that islanders could only smoke off-screen. If they wanted a cheeky fag, they'd have to ask the production team for a cigarette, and were sent to a designated smoking area one at a time. The reason for it being one at a time is so that any conversations could not be had because they would be off-screen. These Love Islands have been known to be like dogs on heat, if you catch my drift. They enjoy getting to know each other with some undercover action, and things can get a little X-rated. But considering Love Island's demographic age is as young as 14, things can be a little awkward. Showing contestants sharing intimate moments on national TV is not really setting a good example to young viewers. But in 2016, Season 2, couple Emma Jane Woodham and Terry Walsh thought they would cheat the cameras by doing the deed above the sheets. Yep, you heard right, above the sheets. The couple believed that there'd be no way that ITV2 would air this on TV, but they were wrong, they aired it. But what's worse is they did the deed in front of the other islanders in the same bedroom, so they witnessed it all. For me personally, if I was in the same room as them, I would have walked straight out because it's ultra disrespectful. But it seemed like good old Terry Walsh enjoyed having an audience. Before he was coupled up with Emma Jane, he was with Marlene Anderson. And in the middle of the day, while the other contestants were chilling in the bedroom, Terry and Marlene slid under the covers and put on a performance. There's been a few islanders who've decided to do it on screen. We've had Olivia and Alex, Kem and Amber, Elon and Megan, and Montana and Alex, to name a few. Since, Montana Brown has gone on to say that she wishes she never had sex on TV and urges other contestants not to do the same. Former Miss Great Britain Zara Holland was stripped of her title after her and Alex Bowen did the deed less than 24 hours after he arrived on the show. But let's be honest, this wasn't the worst mistake she's ever made. Right, so far the controversies have been a little on the light side, but from here on, let's take a look at the darker side of Love Island. Throughout Love Island, we've seen the likes of Adam Collard and Johnny Mitchell being accused of problematic behaviour. Remember how Adam gaslit Rosie?
Zara's played a very clever game in you.
The fact that you came over there and said, right, I want to speak to you, arsey. You had a bee in your bonnet already.
I think I've got every right to be arsey when you've spent 2 days all over a girl you've known for 5 minutes. Adam, listen to me.
You've just nodded at me.
Listen.
Don't fucking nod at me.
Who do you think you are? You haven't spoken to me all day.
Don't nod.
Well, Season 5 is arguably one of the most dramatic seasons ever. It quickly became apparent the overriding theme would be toxic masculinity. Example 1. Controlling behaviour. Joe Garrett and Lucy Dollard started off well. We thought they were blossoming into a cute romance. But over time, viewers started to notice that Joe became increasingly possessive. Yeah, some viewers did defend him. He was worried about Lucy's close relationship with Tommy Fury, which later proved to be right. But other viewers argued that Joey displayed red flags. Women's Aid, a UK-based charity that aims to end domestic violence against women and children, praised viewers for spotting subtle coercive signs. The charity's co-chief executive said, "Controlling behaviour is never acceptable, and with Love Island viewers complaining to Ofcom in record numbers about Joe's possessive behaviour towards Lucy, more people are becoming aware of this and want to challenge it." The statement even noted that abusive relationships often start off with subtle signs of control, and it is important to recognise these signs at the early stages. This critique caused the Love Islanders bosses to respond by saying they take the emotional well-being of all Islanders extremely seriously, and the Islanders have dedicated welfare producers and psychological support at all times. But was this portrayal of Joe fair? As we know, Love Island loves to edit, slice and dice storylines and create victims and villains. The narrative changes so quickly. One day you can be the fan favourite and next day you're the worst. When Joe exited the villa, he was adamant that he did not manipulate Lucy, nor was he abusive, and he was very gutted to be perceived that way. Someone being labelled problematic, possessive and controlling in itself can be damaging, especially for the mental health once they leave the show. But more on that later. At first, Curtis Pritchard was portrayed to be a well-mannered ballroom dancer, keeping in brand. He and Amy were an adorable couple, but it soon proved to keep up that facade. While the men and women were split up when the men were in Casa Amor, Curtis made a move for newbie Jordan, but unfortunately for him, he was rejected, forcing him to stay with Amy. So what did Curtis do? He gaslit Amy, making her feel like it was her fault the relationship wasn't working, while preserving his nice guy image. Example 3. Michael, 1/3 of Destiny's Childish and king of lighting the gas. In comparison, Michael's manipulation was far more obvious. After Casa Amor, Michael recouples with, oh God, I've forgotten her name. But anyway, during his recoupling speech, he hinted that Amber's behaviour was the reason that he had turned his head.
So the past few days have given me a lot of time to reflect. I've come to the realisation that I'm not being true to myself. I've overlooked certain situations which I wouldn't usually do. Meeting this girl's brought the Michael that I know and that everyone else knows from day one back. So I've decided to recouple.
You know, rather than taking responsibility for himself. And like Amber said, he claimed to be a straight-talking guy, but it seems like that was all a lie. In the days that followed, Michael, in his new coupling, spent a lot of time talking about Amber rather than working on getting to know each other. And look how that worked out for them.
Michael, how do you feel?
I feel like I came in and found what I wanted. And now, she's leaving.
Oh my God. Babe, he said to her, I found what I'm looking for, but he never said he was going to leave. If you found what you want, you better leave my beaklety on.
Yeah, by all means, it's fine to break up and move on with somebody. Instead, they are blindsiding these women, reducing them to tears, and putting all of the blame of the relationship failing on the women. This is not a healthy representation of the dynamics between men and women, and dare I say, it's normalising gaslighting.
Who's Jordan again?
Didn't think he'd get away, did you? Example 4. Jordan decided to ask Anna to be his official girlfriend, but he then decided he actually rather enjoyed India's company, who, by the way, was with cool guy Ovi. While the heart wants what the heart wants, Jordan's handling of the situation was much to be desired, and Anna was quick to pick up on things. She sensed that he had changed, and she asked him about his distance, but rather than being honest about his doubts, Jordan flipped reverse the whole situation and made it into Anna's issue, only for Mura to tell Anna the truth, and as a consequence all hell broke loose in one of the most explosive villa arguments ever.
Right now. You're the only person that really made an effort. Do you know what I mean?
Oh shit, here we go.
You like her?
I'm having a conversation with her.
Did you like, because Maura just told me.
I never said that I like her. I'm not hitting on her, I'm just trying to be
You tried to tell me today that you like another girl. 2 days! 2 days! What?
What's worrying, in season 5 of Love Island, there was a visible trend in deliberately misleading partners and normalising this. Right, if you haven't noticed by now, Love Island seriously has a diversity problem in every shape, way and form, no pun intended. There are only ever a handful of non-white islanders, and in terms of body diversity, there is none. Look, if you've watched Love Island UK, you have not got a true representation of the UK demographic. Every year we tune in to see just another black or brown woman or man rejected at the cupping up stage, denied screen time and forced to be the black best friend trope. The black best friend trope means always the best friend and never the protagonist, only there to support or add dimension to the character we're really supposed to care about. This trope has been used in television and TV for years. There's no denying that this is one of Love Island's favourite tropes for their non-white cast. Just look at Samira Mighty, Marcel Somerville and Naz Majid, to name a few. All were portrayed as undesirable and were only there to act as best friends, advisors, a shoulder to cry on, or even provide jokes. We rarely see a romantic storyline with these token cast members, and when we do, we usually find out their partner's intentions were disingenuous. Every year I cringe at the initial coupling up ceremony, and 2019 was no exception. It was one of the most diverse opening nights, but we still saw how 4 out of the 5 people of colour were not picked by each other or the other islanders. Yewande, Anna, Sharif and Michael were picked last. Sharif only coupled up with Anna after Amber chose to recouple with Callum, and she looked quite uncomfortable when Sharif initially picked her.
Oh, yeah!
She's absolutely my type. How you doing? You alright? Nice to meet you, girl.
Hey.
It's nice to be picked, right?
Yeah, it's nice to be picked, thank you.
Fair enough, it is what it is.
You can stand a little bit closer together if you want.
And Yewande was not picked by any of the 5 men and was defaulted to Michael. If you think I'm exaggerating, let's look at the receipt. In season 2, Marlon was picked last. Season 3, Marcel was picked last. Season 4, Samira was picked last. Season 5, Yewande was picked last. Season 6, none of the women stepped forward for Naz, so he chose Shanice, and she tried to leave him for Callum, but Callum went for Shauna. Oh, and let's not forget how Shanice referred to Naz as Aladdin, shocking viewers and causing them to make a complaint Ofcom. It's frustrating watching time after time as black women wait patiently, obediently, just to never get chosen. Throwing in people of colour but not checking the cast preference doesn't make any sense to me. We saw how Samira was constantly rejected and eventually broke down in tears, unable to understand why none of the men in the villa were attracted to her. But then again, it begs the question, why didn't Samira or Yewande step forward to any of the black or brown men? It makes me wonder if there's an internal prejudice playing out here. But anyway, simply demanding for diversity on Love Island is like putting a plaster on a wound. There's a much deeper conversation to be had. In this last section, there is a trigger warning in place, as we'll be looking at mental health. As you may know already, Love Island has been linked to the untimely passing of 2 contestants and its host Caroline Flack. Imagine being so young, blissful, sun-soaked, and in a sanctuary. You have no idea about how you are being perceived by the viewers or how the production team are editing you. But when you are out of your bubble, back to reality. You have a newfound fame. You can either find yourself being loved or loathed by the public. You have to remember that these contestants are normal young people. Both Love Island bosses and former castmates have confirmed that all islanders must pass a mental health check before entering the villa. This rule was introduced after the show received criticism for their lack of aftercare in the wake of losing former islanders Mike Thalassitis and Sophie Gordan. In 2018, Niall Adlan entered the villa before completely disappearing just days after going into the villa, and it was not clear why. Niall later shared that he's been diagnosed with Asperger's since the age of 10 and mental health. At only 25, he left because of a stress-induced psychosis. In an Instagram video, Niall said, "I ended up watching Love Island in a psychiatric hospital in London. What I later found out is that I had something called a stress-induced psychosis. Essentially, what it is, you get so overwhelmed that you lose touch of reality. You kind of hallucinate." It was deemed that Niall needed medical treatment to help him recover. There has also been former islanders who have criticised the show's bosses for giving them depression. They have claimed that they were treated like performing monkeys and this made them feel anxious. Alex Miller revealed how he found it very tough to adjust to real life. He was not on the show very long. Megan brought him back from Casa Amor but quickly dumped him. Once he left the show, he returned to his normal job in construction after his 15 minutes of fame ran out. He said that he often felt suicidal driving to work. Marlene demanded better aftercare for contestants after her appearance in 2016. She said, "I remember performing like monkeys for them. I remember crying a bit." Adam Collard stated he was told by the production team he had 48 hours to steal someone's girlfriend or he would be booted off the show. If you question why they agreed to go along with these things, remember these guys are in their early 20s and they're impressionable. Adam received a lot of bad press over his actions on the show, and he said it impacted his mental health. Josh Denzel dumped Georgina Steele for Kaz in Casa Amor, and he admitted he received a lot of negative online comments on his Instagram while he was still on the show, which his friends struggled with. He said that his friends would no longer post ITV or Love Island content on his Instagram and asked the show bosses for help. It's unclear how the meeting went, however he had said that as long as ITV2 are making good TV shows, they don't care. So in one breath, ITV2 say that they provide aftercare for contestants, but they force them to play a role, which forces them to get trolled or receive bad press, and they are left to deal with the aftermath. Sophie and Mike tragically died within 12 months of each other, but although the show may not be the primary reason for their choices, their death stirred up a debate in Britain over the ethics of reality television and the duty that broadcasters have to care for their contestants. Mental health experts allege stress of reality television might have played a role. Reality shows often involve shameful behaviour and potential embarrassment. At the age of 40, ex-Love Island host Caroline Flack took her own life. She started hosting the show in 2015, and she was really an iconic part of the show. However, she was replaced in 2019 after being charged with assault. Caroline's personal life was plastered all over tabloids, and in an Instagram post she wrote that she was in a really weird place and she's found it hard to talk about it. She said that she reached out to somebody to talk about her feelings. They all called her draining. Quote, "I feel like this is why some people keep their emotions to themselves," she said. "I certainly hate talking about my feelings, and being a burden is one of my biggest fears." Caroline's last words on her Instagram account were, "Be nice to people. You never know what's going on. Ever."